So with Windows 11 25H2 now out, it's time to go over some of the new settings added in 25H2 and of course some of the old ones that you should still turn on or off depending on the context. Stay tuned. With each new version of Windows, there's new settings to control some of the new features that come built in. Some of these features are really cool features that are turned off by default, and some of them aren't so good and are turned on by default. So today we're going to go over these and I'll tell you what each of these features does and whether or not you should turn it on or off. But first, I got to pay some bills, so check out today's sponsor. Are you still running Windows 11 unactivated because the license just costs too much? Then you should check out today's sponsor, VIP SCD Key, where you can get a valid Windows 11 license for around $20. Stop dealing with that stupid watermark and actually be able to change your desktop background with a valid license for Windows 11. Just go to the link in the description below and pick up a valid Windows 11 license key. During checkout, use the code CYBERCPU for a 25% discount. Once you have your key, go to your activation settings in Windows 11 and click the link that says Change Product Key. Enter the product key you just purchased and hit Activate. Now you don't have to deal with that stupid watermark. And check out the description for deals on not just Windows, but Office too. Now, on with the video. So let's just jump right in and I'll start with an old setting that I'm still a little confused as to why Microsoft started disabling by default. That setting is System Restore. This is a feature in Windows that dates all the way back to Windows ME. Now, it hasn't always been the best feature. In fact, it was recommended to disable it in Windows ME because it didn't work very well back then. But in modern days, it's a great feature and really should be enabled by default. But Microsoft disables it now because they want people to rely more on some of their new features like reset this PC or even backup. And if you think about it, did you notice the change here? Because System Restore is intended to fix a running system, while features that Microsoft wants people to rely on today are all based on reloading Windows. I mean, this really hits me to my core because even Microsoft is giving up on fixing Windows computers. This used to be a problem with big box store tech departments that would just nuke and pave a system without any care in the world about a customer's applications and data. Now, it's obvious why this is becoming a common practice because even Microsoft recommends it. But that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to turn it back on so that next time your system doesn't boot or you're stuck in Windows recovery, it doesn't tell you that you have no restore points. So let's jump on the system and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so here we are in Windows 11. If we go down to settings here, we go into system and we scroll all the way down to about, as you can see, we are running 25H2. Now, this may not be the same OS build that you see, but it's the current one as of the making of this video. So hopefully too many changes don't happen by then. I tried to enable as much stuff as I possibly could because Microsoft is kind of slowly rolling out Windows 10. I even had to manually enable the new start menu. But either way, hopefully all these settings won't change like immediately after I publish this video, but if they do, it'll give me an excuse to make another video. So to enable System Restore, this is really quick. You hit start, search for System Restore, and then once you see create a restore point, go ahead and launch it. And as you can see right here, it's turned off. Now on some systems it's turned off and on some systems it's not. I'm not really sure what exactly causes it to turn on and off, but the way you turn it on is you simply go right here to where it says configure, you say turn on system protection, and then you choose about how much you want to use. I would go between 3 to 5%. You could even go up to as high as 10% if you wanted to. However, it's probably a little excessive. So I'm going to do 3%. That gives me almost 30 gigs of space from the drive for system restore points. Go ahead and hit OK, and it's turned on. And then at this point, you can go ahead and hit create. I'm going to create a system restore point, hit create, and it will create it. Now at this point, that's it. System restore is turned on. So the next time you have a problem, you can always come back and restore from a restore point if for whatever reason something goes wrong. So now that we have system restore re-enabled, the next feature that we're going to enable is a new feature to 25H2. This one's called Quick Machine Recovery. I covered this in a video a while back, but I'll briefly go over it again really quick here. This is essentially replacing startup repair in Windows. And it's a good thing we have a replacement for startup repair because it never actually worked in the first place. At least it never worked for me. If it ever worked for you, let me know down in the comments below. But I think it was more of a placebo than anything else. But what Quick Machine Recovery does is it tries to actually diagnose the problem and apply a patch available from Microsoft's website in real time. Now, this isn't going to be helpful in every single situation, but it's definitely going to be more helpful than startup repair was. So let's jump on the system and I'll show you how to turn it on because unfortunately, Microsoft, for some reason, disables it by default. Maybe for privacy? I don't know. But either way, let's get it done. Now, I don't know for sure if they keep this disabled for privacy or not, but that would be kind of a big turn of events for Microsoft, actually considering people's privacy, because Quick Machine Recovery does access Microsoft servers in a situation to where the system goes down. So it may be a privacy issue, honestly. I have no idea why they keep it disabled by default. But to re-enable it, you just go ahead and click Start, go to Settings, and then from here you want to click on System, and then from System you want to scroll down to Recovery right here. And then from Recovery you want to go to Quick Machine Recovery right here. And by default it's going to be turned off just like this. But all you got to do is just flip it on. And then I would recommend checking the continue searching if a solution isn't found. Now essentially what this does is not every problem is going to have a fix. So if there's an issue that's affecting millions of Windows computers, your system goes down and it can't find a solution. Well, Microsoft may be working on a solution in real time to a problem if it's affecting enough Windows PCs. So what this is telling it is you can look for a solution every 30 minutes and restarts every 180 minutes. So what this is going to do is it's going to continue to search for a problem that hopefully Microsoft has diagnosed and applied a patch for. So even though the Quick Machine Recovery won't work at the very beginning, maybe after a couple iterations, 30 minutes to an hour, it'll work and your system will boot. At least that's the idea. So hopefully this in practice is going to work well. Hopefully we don't come back from here, 10 years from now and say Quick Machine Recovery was just as useless as startup repair. But, it's very well we may. Okay, so the next setting, we're going to go ahead and close this here. The next setting is going to be concentrating on the new start menu. If hopefully you have the new start menu on your system, I actually kind of like it, but there's a few issues that I have with it. Like for instance, the all button is now gone and it's instead segregated to different categories right here. Unfortunately, categories that you can't actually change. So you have productivity, utilities, other, creativity, entertainment, information, reading, and accessibility. You don't actually have the ability to customize these categories, but you can change this to either a grid view or a list view. So if you wanted the list view, you'll just have a really, really long Windows start menu. But by default, it comes in a category view. However, we're going to be looking at this recommended section because a lot of people really don't like the recommended section. And Microsoft tends to run ads in the recommended section. If you've ever seen the suggested apps, they're usually right here in recommended. So a lot of people like to turn this off. So in order to turn it off, we're going to go into settings. We're going to go into personalization right here. And then from here, we're going to go into start. And then from here, you have these top things right here. These are all the different things that go into the recommended section. This shows recently installed apps. It shows recommended files like recent files and File Explorer and things of that nature. And it also shows recommendation for tips, shortcuts, and new apps. This is the advertisement. So if you just want to disable the advertisements, then you can check it right here. And you can also, like, for instance, get rid of the newly added apps and have the recommended section be just files that you've recently opened. Or if you want, you can just flip it off completely. And then when you click the start button, it's gone forever. Or at least until you flip it back on. And while we're in this section, there's another thing that I notice a lot of people asking about in Windows 11. And that's the fact that you don't have a lot of system icons available like you did in Windows 10. At least they're not on by default, but you can turn them on right here. If you click on the folder section right here, and then from here, you can essentially turn any of these on. So normally I will put on Settings and File Explorer. However, you can turn on any one of these that you want. And then once you do that, when you click on Start, you'll see that those come up at this bottom corner right here. And then you can launch those apps from right there. And you know what? While we're sitting down here on the taskbar, let me show you how to clean this up a little bit. We'll go ahead and close that, right click on the taskbar, go into taskbar settings, and then from here, there's a few things that you can clean up. For one, you can get rid of task view and widgets. So that's essentially this icon here and this icon over here. And if we check these two, it'll get rid of those. Now, I also like to typically get rid of the search box completely as well. And for that, you just click on the search box here and you can go to hide. But if you want, you can show just the icon if you want. But in reality, it's not even necessary, really. So if you go to hide, if you really want to search for something, just click the start menu and search for it, and it'll open up the search section. So you don't even need the icon there to be able to use Windows Search in the first place. And while we're sitting here trying to clean up our taskbar, there's a lot of other things that you can do down here too. So we'll go ahead and close this, open here, and then Windows 10 obviously always comes with a lot of junk that you don't want. Now typically some of the stuff that I get rid of is like Office 365. I usually uninstall that. I uninstall all of these apps like Spotify, Disney Plus, and I've noticed there's a lot less of these on systems nowadays. I mean, I have a lot of them here because this is an older install of Windows that I just keep updating to the latest version of Windows. However, you can remove all of these, and if Microsoft starts to add more to the system, then you can continue to remove them. But as you can see, there's an awful lot on mine. So yeah, I've noticed lately that there's only like one thing on newer installed systems. So hopefully that's going to be a trend and Microsoft's not going to be bloating down systems that often. But another one that I usually recommend uninstalling is this one also. This is the free Mail app. Now Windows used to come with just Windows Mail, but now they've turned it into Outlook. But if you have Office installed, you'll essentially have two Outlooks, and it gets really confusing about which one you actually want because it's just a slight difference in the icon. As you can see, this one has a point in the top, while regular Outlook has a square on the top, and they're really hard to tell apart sometimes. So I usually like to get rid of this one as well, just to make it so there's no confusion. And then while you're at it, you can also go into the category section right here and get rid of some of the other ones too, but unfortunately, it's harder to find in the category section, and one of the ones that I like getting rid of is we're going to go down to list right here, and it's going to be Copilot. So if we go down to Copilot, we can right click and hit uninstall. And now that I look at it, to be honest with you, I think that the category section is honestly kind of worthless because you really have to click on this to see all of the different programs that are running on here. And, you know, I don't think I've really noticed this before, but I don't like this at all. In fact, it's really annoying, to be honest with you. So maybe after learning what everything does, maybe it'll be a little bit easier, but it seems like you're having to click a lot of stuff in order to get to what you want when you can go just to list and you can list all the applications like normal. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm kind of missing the all button up top right here. I don't know about this new start menu. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. But so far, I'm not really all that impressed. But another problem I hear a lot of people complaining about is File Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead and run into pictures right here. And as you can see, there's a pretty big space in between all of your files. And it essentially makes it so you have to scroll more inside a file manager. Let me show you how to fix that. If we click on Start, we're going to type in regedit. We're going to go ahead and open that up, hit yes to the user account control. And then from here, we want to go into current user. Then we want to go to software. And then from here, we want to go into Microsoft. And then from Microsoft, we want to go into Windows. And all this is alphabetical. You usually just scroll down to the right letter and you'll find it. And then we're going to go into current version. Then we're going to go into Explorer. And then from Explorer, we're going to go into Advanced, right up top right here. And then for this, we're going to need to create a DWORD value. So we're going to right click, hit New, DWORD 32-bit. And then from here, we're going to type in Use Compact Mode. Just like that. Go ahead and hit enter. We're going to open this up and we're going to change this to 1 and then hit OK. And once we close regedit, as you'll see, Everything is a lot tighter in here. In fact, you don't have to scroll anywhere near as far as you did before. Now, the reason why Microsoft changed this in the first place was because of touchscreen displays. So if you have a touchscreen display, you know your fat fingers might click a couple icons when you're trying to click an icon directly. So they go ahead and spread it out so that way it makes it easier to touch. But a lot of people don't use touchscreen displays and they just want the old way back. And honestly, this even helps when you go into the large icons. So like on this one, we have the regular pictures themselves where you can see the thumbnails. Well, if we go ahead and open regedit again here, let me show you. I just noticed this when I was writing this video, didn't realize that this was a thing. But we're going to scroll down to use compact mode, and we're going to go ahead and turn it off real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this out so you can actually see it on the screen. And as soon as we hit OK, watch down here, you'll see the icons move away from each other. See, just like that. So it kind of gives you more space in between the icons, and it has this big white space between a lot of them that's just wasted. So if you go down and you change the use compact mode again, back to 1, go ahead and watch in between all these pictures here. You'll see everything kind of tighten up just like that. So you don't have quite as much wasted space, maybe a little bit, but not as much as you did before. It honestly does more to affect the details pane right here. It keeps this one a lot more compact. And if this doesn't work right away like it did on mine, all you got to do is go ahead and restart Explorer to get it to work. And for that, you just right click, go to Task Manager, scroll down on Task Manager until you find Windows Explorer. Oh, I guess it's right up top. And then just hit restart and it'll restart Windows Explorer. And then at that point, it should take effect. Okay, so most of the settings we just went over are the ones that'll kind of make your 25H2 look a little less cluttered and maybe a little more debloated. But now I'm going to show you a setting that we've had for a while, but just hasn't been enabled by default. And I don't think it's gotten as much attention as it should have because honestly, this is a really cool feature. But let's jump back on the system and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this setting that I'm going to show you guys right now, I think is a setting that we should have on every system on default. But for some reason, Microsoft decides they don't want that. So have you ever opened up a command prompt? You're in a specific folder and you want to run something, right? Like for instance, let's say I want to run sc stop beep. So what this is doing is it's stopping the beep service that uses the speaker on your computer. So when I hit enter, access denied. Dang it. So what I got to do is I got to click on start. I got to type CMD again. I got to right click. I got to run as administrator. Hit yes to the user account control. Do all of that. Then I've got to go back to the folder I was just in just to run the stupid command that I could have run if I just had sudo like Linux. Well, it turns out we have sudo just like in Linux. Let me show you how to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on start. We're going to go to system from within settings. System right here. Then we're going to go all the way down to advanced. Right there. And then from advanced, we're going to scroll down to right here where it says enable sudo. And once we check that on, we're going to hit yes. We're going to click this little arrow right here that goes and it tells you configure how sudo runs applications. Now by default, it says in a new window. So what this is going to do is it's going to run that command that you just ran in a new command prompt window. But I don't want to do that. I want to do it inline. I just want to do it in the same console window that I'm currently in. So if you change it to inline, I think it's a little bit more useful. So we're going to go ahead and close this. And then we're going to go ahead and click start. In fact, I'm just going to click right here and we're going to open up our terminal again. And like I said, this is not an administrator terminal. So I'm going to say sc stop beep, just like I did before, and hit enter. And as you can see, access denied. Obviously, it won't let me kill a service without administrator rights. So for that, I'm going to type in sudo sc stop beep. Hit enter, and now it's going to bring up the user account control, and you have to say yes to the user account control here, but then once you do that, boom, the service has not been started. Well, it failed to stop it because the service isn't started. Obviously, because I guess I'm not using the speaker on my system. But if you went sudo sc start beep and hit enter, it'll come up with the user account control again, hit yes, and it'll say, boom, it is now running. And now you can stop it if you want. It's up to you. Or you can just let your computer beep. Now, there's one setting in 25H2 that I really wanted to show you guys today, but unfortunately, it's just not available on my system yet because Microsoft is doing their partial rollout like they typically do with some new features. This feature is called Administrator Protection. It's a new way of dealing with the administrator rights on a Windows system. I think this is going to be a pretty huge update. Once enabled, it will replace the user account control prompt when you run an application that requires administrator rights. Now, what this feature does is instead of giving you a persistent admin token that malware can steal, and often does, it keeps you running as a standard user by default. But when you need elevation to run a program that requires admin rights, it prompts for an authorization through Windows Hello. So it will require at absolute minimum a PIN, but it will also work biometrically. Once approved, Windows creates a short-lived, isolated admin token from a hidden system account. This will be completely separate from your user profile. It uses that token to power that one app that you need and then self-destructs once the app is closed. This creates no lingering risk like the UAC system did before. It's disabled by default, but if you want to enable it, just go into Windows Security, then select Account Protection, and you should be able to find Administrator Protection in that section if it's been enabled for you. Unfortunately though, I couldn't play around with it prior to making this video because unfortunately I didn't have the feature available. I even tried using the Vive tool to enable it and just had no luck. So the feature might completely suck, but it sounds like a great addition to Windows Security. And if it works like it's advertised to work, then I highly recommend turning it on. But unfortunately, it'll mean you'll have to actually type a password instead of just hitting OK to a UAC prompt. But then again, you really should be doing that anyway. But like I said, I haven't played with it yet. So it does end up really sucking. Let me know down in the comments below. There is a possibility that it could cause problems with other apps that were designed for the UAC flow. But hopefully Microsoft thought about that in advance and added a little bit of backwards compatibility to it. I guess we're gonna have to see. But it is a nice addition to Windows Security, being that you usually can just run administrator apps by hitting OK, which isn't the most secure thing in the world. But luckily, it's a feature that can be turned on and off. So if it does cause any problems, you can always just turn it off and go back to the old UAC system. But these are the settings that I found useful in 25H2. If there's anything that you think I missed, then make sure to let me know down in the comments below. There's a couple of really good ones that I decided instead of putting in this video, I think I'm gonna do a dedicated video on. Like, for instance, there's a new setting in Windows Hello that allows you to take advantage of third-party password managers. This, combined with biometric security like facial recognition, could essentially give you a true passwordless experience from within Windows and also be able to completely be cross-platform to Linux, Mac, and any other system that supports whatever password manager you decide to use. I think so far that's the first feature that has made me intrigued with Windows Hello, but we'll have to actually see that in a later video. And just for a spoiler alert, you can do all of this without a Microsoft account, which I think is pretty cool. But for now, just keep in mind that these aren't all the settings that I think you should change in Windows 11. These are just the settings that I think you should change in 25H2. If you want a more complete list for Windows 11 in general, then check out this video where I go through settings that I think everyone should change when they first install Windows 11. But as always, you guys have a great day.